Okay, well, my dad bought a lot down on the other end of the lake when I was about, I don't remember, 12 or 13 years old, so it would have been 52 or 53. Never built there. I just used it for a weekend recreation place and go swimming, bring food up and have a picnic. But then in 1970-ish, 71, we built a house there, and we lived there until 93 when we moved to O'Fallon because we were both working in the Belleville area. And then 5 years ago, we built this one and moved back. So as far as how long we've been here, it's hard to say. But
Yeah. I know exactly when my first time here was because it was when I met you. So it would have been 1956. And then he proposed to me on the lake, on that lot, 1960.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
1960, a year before we were married.
I thought it was longer ago than that. Okay,
That's when you proposed, yeah.
okay.
With the ring.
Oh, the
With the
official,
ring.
the official proposal, yeah.
Yes.
Well, early on, there was a 5 horsepower limit on all boats because there weren't any pontoon boats. Everybody just had fishing boats. And there was a 5 horsepower limit. Help me, what else was there?
Well, there weren't many houses, and
No.
all the empty lots were overgrown trees and weeds.
Yeah, when my dad bought our lot, it was very much overgrown with crabapple trees, and
Yeah.
they're thorny. And we cut down 4 trees before one of them would fall over. They were just tangled at the top. Their limbs were mashed together. But as far as what else has changed, and the
One
main
thing
thing that's changed is a lot more people and a lot more houses and a lot more pontoon boats.
One thing I remember very specifically was when we would swim, sometimes you would smell sewer because everybody had septic tanks or sewers or cesspools back then. There was no city, and so the lake really smelled bad, and we all swam in it.
Just at times. It
Yeah.
didn't smell that way all the time. They were putting sewers in when we started to build our house down there. So we did not have a septic system. When they built it, it went straight into sewers.
So it was right about 1970, they put sewers in around the lake.
Marv was in junior high and Steve was in 4th grade.
6th grade when we moved here, and Lisa was in 2nd grade. And they just loved it. And more than once, we had a house full of kids
Oh,
all
my
wanting to
gosh.
swim. So we became like the center for any evening activities by the teenagers.
We
We
come
got-
home and we came home one time from work and there was a young lady sleeping on our couch and neither one of us knew who she was. So we figured we'll find out eventually. And sure enough, the rest of them had gone out on the lake and she didn't want to go, so she just slept on the couch.
But I'm glad I didn't call police because I found out later it was Ann Tasovsky, and her parents owned home nursery back then. That's who was sleeping on my couch, and I was just
Yeah. it's a
really
good- it's a good
concerned
thing
about
you
who
didn't-
in the world is
It's
this.
a good thing you didn't call police.
Yeah. Yes, when we were building, there was an elephant walking down the street.
Yeah, that's right, there was. I never didn't figure out why, but there was an elephant.
Yep,
I wouldn't call that a major event, but there was certainly
it was
a
strange.
surprise. We never did figure out who brought it in or why it was there, but just walking
Maybe the
along.
circus came to town?
Maybe the circus came to town.
And somebody knew somebody and decided this would be a good, quiet street.
But
So,
what, do you know, the Lake Association wasn't as organized then as it is now. They didn't have lake events. They didn't have fireworks. They didn't have picnics on vacant lot. It was just everybody was on their own. And there was no organization.
no. I do remember that they had said that if you lived next door to one of the access areas, after 5 years, if you took care of it, it became your property, right?
Yeah, but that was
But
not
that never
true.
happened.
Because we took care of it and it just remained, it's still an access area.
Yeah.
Remained lake property or Lake Association property.
And we were really angry when they cut down our woodpecker tree because there was a tree there that we had seen the
Pileated woodpecker on, yeah.
Yeah.
And tons of other little ones, but
So,
they cut it down.
and we had no control. So, but it was a disappointment. But big events.
Don't remember any. Yeah, we fish and boat all the time. We love to go out in the evening and just watch the sunset and take a bottle of wine and have a glass of wine while we're watching the sun. Usually, we'll find somebody else that we know out there and we'll tie our boats together and just sit there and watch the sunset and talk.
But we had one funny experience with fishing. Our son was in the Navy, and he brought all his Navy buddies here, and they decided they wanted to fish. Well, this one boy
Most
cast
of
his
them
line
had
out.
never fished before in their life. But go ahead.
It went over one of the docks off Circle Drive. It went down between the slats, the boards, and he caught a fish.
But he couldn't get it
So
out.
he couldn't get it out because it was through the. But that was
So,
funny.
We'd take a boat over there and unhook his fish for him.
Then this ice skating, there was always ice
Always
skating
ice skating,
out
yeah.
there. A lot of that, and the ice was pretty smooth. And
Yeah, it was usually very smooth.
but you used a sled. You'd come down. He came
We'd
down.
come down the hill, and when the lake was frozen, so at the bottom you just shoot out on the lake. The first day we did that, there was about 6 or 8 inches of snow on the ice. So you'd go out, and the sled would stop because of the snow, and then you'd just walk back. So we came up the next day, and the wind had blown the snow off the ice. Didn't dawn on us. Go down the hill, hit the ice, you were gone. The only way you could get it off was just roll over, because it was just going to go all the way across the lake. It was just amazing, but it was fun.
I think it was on the 4th of July, or very
It was
close.
it was a holiday weekend. I don't remember
Yes.
what it was, but
And
yeah.
our whole family was there. And I heard, and I think one of our boys heard somebody yelling help. And so we jumped in the boat and went to where we heard this. And by the time we got there, there were people walking back and forth on the hill. But
And
we
there
never
was-
saw
and
anything.
There was a pontoon boat in the water, and they had divers, just hobby divers, not professional, and they were going off of that pontoon boat looking for this. But yeah, I think they found it,
Yeah.
and then later on that night after we were gone,
Well, they said that then,
we heard 2 stories. We heard one that his 2 boys had gotten in the water, and he went in to get them. And he got them out, but then he was too tired and worn out to get out himself, and he just slipped in and drowned. There was another story that after he got the boys out, he was trying to get to shore, but it was a muddy bank, and every time he tried to go up, he kept slipping down, and finally he just slipped down and went under and never came up.
but
Which
in
story
any
is true?
case,
They're both kind of the
both
same.
possible. But then it was very depressing because we saw them dragging the lake for the next several days. It took a couple of days. Very depressing. So
Yeah,
we really
definitely.
get aggravated with people throwing things in the lake, like beer cans.
Beer cans, soda cups. They put cups in that they think they're going to float and somebody's going to pick them up, but they sink. And then they just clutter the bottom. When they lowered the lake the first time, we must have picked up, I don't know.
I had huge bags full of empty cans just from behind our lot.
Yeah, just walking back and forth around here. But then the lake came up and they lowered again, and the beer cans are all back. I don't know. We just get tired of picking up beer cans. I think we all have them all picked up now.
Yeah.
Except for that big plastic thing that's down there.
But
Looks like the top off of a swimming pool, except it's too small. It's only about 6 feet in diameter.
then we also, I think, are very sympathetic to what's going on with trying to maintain the lake and keep all the mud out of it.
Yeah. I was amazed when they lowered the lake to see how shallow it is. I mean, there are places in here where you could almost, wasn't for the mud, you could walk across the lake, but of course you'd sink up to
I
your knees in
remember
mud.
being told when we first moved here that behind our house on Thomas Terrace, the lake was 40 feet.
30 feet.
30,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not now. I don't know what it is now. I haven't measured it, but it's pretty filled in. a lot of sediment. Probably, but I can't think of them right now.
Mel Wilson.
What about, Mel was a nice
He was a
good guy.
really nice guy, and he lived across the lake from us. And we were invited to his house for a party one time.
After the gun club was turned over to the Lake
Right.
Association. It was a celebration party because he was very active in removing the gun club.
Yes.
Even though he was quite a gun enthusiast. I
Very
didn't know it
much.
at the time until we got to his house. He had I guess it should have been a bedroom, but it was wall all the way around the perimeter of the room was gun cabinets full of rifles and shotguns, and then he had a table in the middle of the room. The drawers had handguns. He had guns everywhere, and he was a tremendous gun enthusiast. But he was against the gun club because it didn't belong in a residential neighborhood, he said.
Tell us about the dredging that you talked about with the lead.
Yeah, there was a
from the
tremendous
gun
amount of lead in the bottom of the lake just from shotguns being fired at clay pigeons. And a company contacted us and said they wanted to dredge the lead out of the lake, and they would pay us for the lead they got out. So we said, fine. So they came out and they were dredging, and they found a tremendous amount of lead. And they got ready to pay us, and we said, wait a minute, don't pay us. Take your equipment around the lake and do some more dredging. So they did until they had used up all the money that they would have gotten from the lead. And then they'd come back and mine some more lead, and then they'd take off and do some more dredging. And it was a win-win situation because they got the lead and we got the dredging. It was cool.
But before that, the lead was so bad that the geese were,
Oh, yeah, we'd find not dead geese, but they were obviously poisoned. They couldn't move, they couldn't walk, and you could just walk up to them and pick them up. And in fact, we did several.
our boys did,
Well, I did one. We called that,
the wildlife.
Wildlife Association, and they came and got it.
But
Who's that?
our boys found animals all the time and brought them home. Oh, I have a funny story.
I knew you were going to tell us.
Our daughter she was the youngest, and the boys brought a duck. They saw a duck, a turtle was trying to pull it down, and they went over and grabbed the duck and pulled it away from the turtle, brought it home. So we didn't know what to do with it.
The duck had half of its skin
Yeah.
pulled off of his breast area, and he was a mess. But
So we sprayed it with Bactine, an antibiotic, and put him into the shower because we didn't know what else to do with him. And so anyway, one day we get a knock on the door, and there were these two little first graders, and they were smiling, and they said, "Does your husband take a shower with a duck?" Yes. So
it was kind of fun. The duck had just sat there in the tub and tried to bite the water that was falling on him. It was kind of cute.
Did he make it?
Yeah, he did. And we turned him loose.
He was named, what was it, Gold?
Gold. No, that was the rabbit that was gold.
Yeah, the rabbit's another
I don't know.
story. They brought a rabbit home
They
too.
found him floating in the moss offshore, and they waded out and got him and brought him back.
But there
Little bitty one.
there were some names too of people, like our next door neighbors were the Cassons, Eddie and Ola. Ola's maiden name was Dunlap. So they had been here for a long time. Who was it that Bob Coltis?
Oh, Bob Coltis was on the board, or I don't know if
He
he
was
was on the board or if he was just attending all the board meetings, but he was always there.
But he was part of the gun club.
And he knew, yeah, he was part of the gun club, and he knew a lot of the history of what was going on. There's a lot. If you go down East Lake, it looks like just a bare open lot on the lakeside. And when they were dredging once before, they used that as a filler. It used to be water, and they built a dam across there and just pumped the sediment into there, and it filled it all up, and it's just a big flat. The plan was that was eventually supposed to be returned to the lake, but I think everybody that knew that is gone, and now it's just going to stay dirt. I'll probably think of him tomorrow.
I guess I think, I watched him when he was president. I know the work that goes into it, so I guess just great appreciation for everyone who's doing the work now.
All the board members, yeah.
Yeah.